Have you ever felt the ground shift beneath your feet, realizing the person you trusted most has betrayed you? That's exactly what happened to me. My wife and our closest friend, someone we both trusted, went behind my back. It all started with one shocking discovery: a second phone hidden in plain sight. From there, my life unraveled. What I did next will surprise you. This isn't just a story of heartbreak, but of strength, taking control, and finding a way forward. Stick with me as I share how I turned betrayal into a new beginning. You won't believe how it all ends. I wasn't looking for anything suspicious, but there it was, a second phone hidden in M's car. For a moment, I just stared at it, my heart racing. Finding it was like a sudden jolt, almost stimulating, though not in the way you'd want. As I scrolled through, the messages hit me like a punch to the gut. Between the lines, it was clear. M and J, our mutual friend, had been more than just friendly. The words exchanged were loaded with intention, revealing a connection I never saw coming. My marriage, in that moment, felt like it had been an illusion all along. What hit even harder was realizing Jay, someone I trusted, was engaged to be married himself. Betrayal from both sides, tangled in deceit. The sense of satisfaction they must have had behind my back gnawed at me. I had thought we were happy, or maybe I just wanted to believe that. Now, everything felt tainted, like the ground beneath me had crumbled. The discovery left me questioning everything I thought I knew, and it planted the seed of what would come next. With the phone in my hand, my mind raced. Was it possible this had been going on for months? How much of my life had been built on lies? The betrayal was right in front of me, undeniable. I knew that once I confronted him, there'd be no going back. But before I acted, I needed more proof. Something concrete. Something that would give me the upper hand when the time came to face her. This was only the beginning. After the initial shock, I knew I couldn't just rush into confronting her. I needed more evidence that would leave no room for doubt. So I took my time with the second phone, combing through every message, every photo. What I found was more than enough. There's secret moments, hidden plans. It was all there, plain as day. It wasn't just about the satisfaction of catching them, though. It was about protecting myself. I printed everything I could, conversations, photos, enough to fill a file that would hold up in court if it came to that. It wasn't easy keeping all this to myself. Each time him looked at me, oblivious to what I knew, it took everything in me not to explode. The intention was clear. I needed to be strategic. I consulted a lawyer, laying everything out. The plan was to move quietly, to prepare for the inevitable divorce without tipping her off. The idea of ending it all felt both terrifying and strangely stimulating in a way that I couldn't quite explain. There was something about finally taking control that gave me strength. As the days passed, I became more calculated. M went on with her life, unaware that everything was about to change. I'd watch her, wondering how she could carry on like nothing had happened. The irony was that she thought she had the upper hand, while all along I was gathering the pieces that would lead to her downfall. Every move I made now was with intention, focused on the next step: confrontation. The day I decided to confront her, my heart was pounding, but I kept my cool. I had everything ready, every message, every photo. When I showed her the phone, M's face drained of color. At first, she tried to play innocent, her usual charm barely holding up under the weight of the evidence. But there was no escaping it this time. The more I pushed, the more her defenses crumbled, until finally, she admitted it. There was her confession, but no amount of apologies could erase what she had done. Satisfaction? Maybe, but mostly it felt hollow. She begged for forgiveness, trying to explain herself, but the damage was already done. Every word she said felt empty, just like the promises she had made before. I listened, but the decision had already been made in my mind. Divorce was the only way forward. It wasn't just about the betrayal. It was the lack of intention to keep the marriage sacred. I wasn't interested in excuses. The confrontation had given me the closure I needed, but now it was time to act. As she tried to salvage the situation, I kept my tone calm, almost detached. I told her we were done. Her tears, her pleading, they didn't move me. In fact, the more she begged, the more resolute I became. I could feel a strange sense of satisfaction, not from her pain, but from knowing I had finally taken control of the situation. Now, it was time to let the divorce process begin. Breaking the news to M's family wasn't easy, but it had to be done. Her parents had always been kind to me, and I knew this would shatter their image of her. When I told them about the affair and our impending divorce, the look on their faces said it all: shock, disappointment, and a sense of helplessness. They had no idea. It wasn't about pointing fingers. It was about being honest. They deserved to know the truth. It felt strange, though, satisfaction mixed with guilt, knowing that their world, much like mine, was now falling apart. Reaching out to Jay's fiancée was an entirely different challenge. I hesitated at first, not wanting to be the one to ruin her life. But she deserved to know, just as much as I did. The moment I told her, I could hear her voice break, her disbelief turning to devastation. It was like reliving my own moment of discovery, only this time, I was the one delivering the blow. There was no satisfaction in this, only a heavy sense of responsibility, knowing that I had just unraveled someone else's future with one conversation. In the days that followed, friends started to find out. Some were supportive, offering words of comfort, while others were stunned into silence. The reactions varied, but one thing became clear: life was changing fast. And amidst all the chaos, one person stood out: M's sister. She was the one person who understood, who offered genuine support. Her calm presence helped ease the storm, giving me a small sense of relief in the middle of it all. But even then, the path ahead was far from over. W's support became something I didn't expect, but deeply appreciated. She saw through M's lies and offered a kind of comfort I hadn't felt in a while. Her calm words, her understanding, it was like a lifeline in the middle of all this chaos. As we talked, I realized she wasn't just there out of obligation, but out of genuine care. It was odd how much her presence felt satisfying, almost like a reminder that not everyone in my life had betrayed me. Still, every time she consoled me, it brought back the pain of M's betrayal, like a bittersweet reminder of everything I'd lost. In the quiet moments, when I was alone, I found myself reflecting on everything that had happened. How had we gotten here? Was it something I had missed? The questions swirled in my mind, but the truth was, M's affair had nothing to do with me. Her choices were her own, and they spoke volumes about her character, her lack of intention to stay committed. Accepting that was hard, but with W's help, I started to focus on what came next. There was no going back now. With each passing day, I felt a little lighter. The initial sting of betrayal was fading, replaced by a determination to rebuild my life. My friends, my family, they reminded me that I wasn't alone in this. The support I had, especially from W, gave me the clarity I needed. It was time to move on, to start focusing on the future. But first, I had to finish what I started: the divorce. The divorce process moved faster than I expected, but each step felt like peeling away another layer of the past. I gathered all the evidence, meticulously organized, ready for whatever M might throw my way. She wasn't going to make this easy, though. Her anger surfaced quickly, turning what could have been a smooth process into something far more complicated. But I had prepared for this. Every document, every message was ready. Her attempts to cause trouble felt like desperate moves, while I stayed focused, knowing that I had everything I needed to protect myself. As we approached the court date, M's behavior became even more erratic. There were moments when she tried to manipulate the situation, twisting details, as if that could change the facts. But the truth was on my side, and with every passing day, I felt more grounded. Satisfaction grew as I realized I wasn't just surviving this. It felt like I was reclaiming my life. The lawyer reassured me that we were on solid ground, and honestly, that was all I needed to hear. The divorce wasn't just an end. It was a new beginning, and I was ready for it. Packing up M's things was another story. Every item carried a memory, but instead of sadness, I felt a strange sense of closure. Each box I sealed was like removing another piece of the pain. I didn't expect it to feel this freeing, The idea of her being gone for good wasn't sad. It was almost exhilarating. The satisfaction of knowing I was close to the end, that soon this chapter would be behind me, was unlike anything I'd felt before. But before the final papers could be signed, things took an unexpected turn. I thought I'd seen the worst of it, but I was wrong. One night, Em showed up at my house, completely drunk. It was a scene I wasn't prepared for. She was slurring her words, stumbling around, making a spectacle of herself. The frustration and humiliation from the divorce had finally caught up to her, and now she was spiraling. She banged on the door, yelling things I couldn't even make sense of. Part of me wanted to just let her go on, but I knew things could escalate. So I called the police. It wasn't what I wanted, but there was no other choice. When the police arrived, they tried to calm her down, but she wasn't having it. She made a scene, yelling, cursing, refusing to leave. Watching it unfold was surreal. This was the same person I had once loved, now reduced to this chaos. They eventually arrested her for public intoxication and disturbing the peace. It wasn't how I wanted things to end, but at that moment, I realized there was no turning back. This was the final push, the last bit of drama before I could finally close this chapter. After she was taken away, I stood there for a while, letting the silence sink in. It was over, well, almost. The divorce wasn't finalized yet, but this felt like the last real obstacle. There was a strange sense of calm now, like I had weathered the worst of the storm. The end was in sight, and with it, the promise of peace. It was a messy ending, but I knew one thing for sure. I was ready to move on, leaving all of this behind. As the final stages of the divorce process unfolded, I found myself reflecting on everything that had happened. It had been a long, painful journey, but there was a sense of peace knowing it was almost over. The paperwork was nearly finalized, and with it the last ties to M would be cut. I couldn't help but feel relief. The chaos, the lies, the betrayal, it was all coming to an end. And while it had left scars, I knew I was stronger because of it. The satisfaction of finally reclaiming my life was within reach. Looking back, it was clear that the betrayal had been a turning point, but not the end of my story. I wanted to share this experience, not out of bitterness, but to encourage others. To anyone going through something similar, I'd say this: you're not alone, and you can get through it. Relationships built on respect and genuine love are worth fighting for. But if that's missing, it's okay to walk away. Sometimes, the greatest strength lies in letting go. There's always a way forward, even when it feels impossible. With the divorce nearly complete, I felt lighter than I had in months. The future was wide open, and I was ready to embrace it. For the first time in a long while, I felt at peace. This chapter was closing, and with it, I was finally free to start a new one. The pain would fade, and in its place, there would be growth, new opportunities, and maybe even a little hope. It wasn't the ending I had imagined, but it was the one I needed.
Keep watching our stories by clicking on one of the videos that appear on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to be alerted about new videos. See you next time.